She wasn't hiding in shadows. She wasn't a silent monster lurking in the dark. She was loud, furious, and unashamed, a woman who claimed she killed only to survive. But survival, for her, meant blood on the highway. This is the story of Aileen Wuornos, a woman who became the face of female rage, and one of America's most infamous serial killers. Aileen Carol Wuornos was born in 1956 in a small Michigan town that never wanted her. Her father was a convicted child molester who hanged himself in prison. Her mother abandoned her when she was just 4. By the time she could spell her name, she already knew what rejection felt like. Raised by her grandparents, Aileen's childhood was a nightmare of abuse, shame, and hunger. Her grandfather was an alcoholic who beat her. Her grandmother, too afraid to intervene. At 11, Aileen began exchanging sex for food and cigarettes. At 14, she was raped by a family friend, and when she became pregnant, she was sent away to give birth. The baby was taken from her, and she was kicked out of her home. She lived in the woods alone, lighting fires to stay warm, selling her body to survive. That's where the rage began, slow, silent, and deep. Every rejection, every assault, every bruise built the foundation of something dangerous. The world had turned its back on her, and she would remember that. For the next decade, Aileen drifted through America. Bars, truck stops, cheap motels, she was always on the move. Her rap sheet grew: theft, assault, armed robbery. She wasn't looking for trouble. Trouble was looking for her. Then in 1986, everything changed. In a Florida bar, Aileen met Tyria Moore, a hotel maid with kind eyes and a calm voice. It was the first time anyone had shown her genuine affection. For Aileen, it felt like salvation. They lived together in motels, scraping by with Aileen's sex work. But love doesn't pay bills and desperation doesn't wait. The fights grew louder, the money thinner, and something inside Aileen began to crack. Between 1989 and 1990, 7 men vanished along Florida highways. Each had been shot multiple times. Each had last been seen with a blonde hitchhiker. Their names would later be known only as evidence: Richard Mallory, David Spears, Charles Carskadden, Troy Burris, Charles Humphreys, Peter Seams, Walter Antonio. Aileen claimed each death was self-defense. She said they'd tried to rape her, that she'd been forced to pull the trigger. But the evidence said otherwise: multiple shots, stolen wallets, pawned belongings. Some were shot in the back. This wasn't survival anymore. This was something darker, a storm that had been waiting for years to break. To understand Aileen Wuornos, you have to understand trauma. She wasn't born evil, she was built from pain. Every man who hurt her, every door slammed in her face, became part of her rage. Psychologists later diagnosed her with borderline personality disorder and antisocial personality disorder. She craved love but believed she didn't deserve it. She hated men but needed them to survive. It was a psychological paradox. Love and hate fused together. Each killing was, in her mind, justice. Every trigger pull, an act of revenge against the world that used her. But her reasoning was distorted. She saw violence as power and power as love. In January 1991, after months of investigation, police closed in. They found Aileen in a biker bar, exhausted, broke, and unafraid. When detectives confronted her, she smirked. "You got me," she said. But the truth came out when Tyria Moore, the woman Aileen loved most, made a deal with the police. Under pressure, Aileen confessed. She claimed all 7 murders but maintained one story: they were going to hurt me. "I just wanted to live." Her words were raw, trembling between guilt and defiance. The line between victim and killer had disappeared long ago. During her trial, the media swarmed. A female serial killer, angry, unapologetic, and poor, was something America had never seen. The cameras loved her rage. Aileen yelled at the judge, cursed the jurors, and glared into the lenses with fire in her eyes. "I killed them," she said, "but they were going to rape me, so I shot them. I'd do it again." The court saw no remorse, only madness. She was sentenced to death 6 times. Behind bars, her mind deteriorated. She claimed guards were spitting in her food, that the prison was wired to drive her insane. She believed she was part of a conspiracy, that the government wanted her silenced. Some days she was calm, reflective, even funny. Other days, she ranted to invisible enemies, Her mental state flipped between lucidity and delusion, pain and paranoia. When asked about her past, she said, "I never had a chance. Nobody ever gave me one." In a twisted way, she was right. On October 9, 2002, Aileen Wuornos walked into the death chamber. She looked tired, but not broken. Her final words were bizarre, almost cinematic. "I'll be back." Like Independence Day with Jesus. A few minutes later, she was gone. So who was Aileen Wuornos, really? A monster, a victim, or both? To some, she was a predator who used her past as an excuse for murder. To others, she was a broken woman shaped by a lifetime of cruelty, a mirror reflecting what neglect can create. Her story forces us to confront a brutal truth. Evil doesn't always wear a mask. Sometimes it wears pain. She killed 7 men, but her own death started long before the first shot was fired, in childhood, in silence, in every betrayal that taught her to hate the world. As her body lay still in that cold chamber, the world moved on. But her story lingers, not as an excuse but as a warning. Because monsters like Aileen Wuornos aren't born overnight. They're made, piece by piece, wound by wound. And sometimes the line between victim and killer is thinner than we want to believe.